Good morning everyone, welcome to this edition of Weekly Roundup. Myself Nilesh and I will be taking this session. In this session, we will cover important developments of the last week. So without wasting any time, let's start today's session. In this session, we will be discussing 5 main news, 1 personality in news and 8 quick updates. In main news, first main is about sacred Piprahwa relics as Prime Minister inaugurates international exposition related to it. Second main news is about US strikes on Venezuela. Then third main news is about global minimum tax as OECD finalized the agreement related to it. Then fourth main news is about BRICS as India assumes BRICS chairmanship for the year 2026. And last main news is about data center capacity in India as it has been doubled in 2025. In personality in news, we will be covering Savitribai Phule. So let's start the today's session. So the first main news is about sacred Piprahwa relics as Prime Minister inaugurate the international exposition related to it. It is important for your GS paper 1, which is about Indian culture, salient aspect from this ancient to modern times, and GS paper 4, which is related to contribution of the moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. In this news, we will be covering what is the relics and Buddhist relics. Then we will see about the sacred Piprahwa relics, and then we will cover the importance of the Buddhist teachings in the contemporary world. So let's start today's discussion. So what is the background? As we already discussed, the exhibition has been inaugurated by the Prime Minister, and name of that exhibition is the Light and the Lotus Relics of the Awakened One. So here Awakened One means the Buddha. And in this inauguration, Prime Minister also highlighted the wisdom and the path shown by the Gautam Buddha is even important for today for the humanity. So this is the development. Now we will see what is the Piprahwa relics. So basically Piprahwa relics is the gem relic of the Gautam Buddha, and which has been repatriated to India after 127 years. So where these were for the 127 years. So these relics were in 3 places. So first was Kingdom of Siam, so which is today's Thailand. Second, Britain, and third, Kolkata Museum. So after finding these relics before 127 years, those relics were sent to these 3 places by the Britishers, and these were sent under the Indian Treasure Trove Act. So that act is not very important for us, but remember that those relics were sent by the British to these places, and Indian government recovered those relics, and now their exposition have been arranged by the Indian government. So this is about the background. Now before we see about the Piprahwa relics, let us see what is the relics are and what are their background. So Gautam Buddha died or had the Mahaparinirvana around 483 BC in Kushinagara. Please remember this fact. And his mortal remains and other important belongings, which were now known as relics, have been distributed in the 8 important personalities of that time. So which were those personalities? So prominent one were the Ajat Shatru of Magad, then Kushinagara itself, and one of them was given to the Piprahwa, which was then Kapilavastu. So these relics were given to the 8 places, and when Ashoka came to the power, Ashoka unearthed these 8 relics and distributed them in around 84,000 stupas all over India to propagate the Buddhism. So please remember this fact. So now we will see that these relics have been distributed all over India in the stupas. So stupas are actually places where relics are buried. So please see how stupas are. So this is the diagram of the stupa. So this is called as chhatra, then this is called as anda, then this is pradakshina path, and then there are toranas around it. So UPSC have asked the question about the stupa. UPSC may again ask question about the stupa. So you can draw such raw diagram and give the important aspect of the stupa. So it is about the stupa. So Ashoka spread the relics all over the India to spread the Buddhism. So this is all about the general information about the relics. Now we will see the Piprahwa relics. So it was discovered by the British civil engineer called as William Clarkston Pepe. So please remember this name. So this person, William Clarkston Pepe, unearthed the relics in the Piprahwa around 1898, about 127 years ago. And what is the location? As we already discussed, the Piprahwa is in Uttar Pradesh and it is near the Indo-Nepal border. So what is the significance of the Piprahwa? So Piprahwa today is the ancient place called as Kapilavastu, and Kapilavastu is the place where Buddha spent majority of his life before attaining the nirvana. When before he becoming Buddha, he was residing here in Kapilavastu almost 29 or 30 years. So this is the significance of this place. So please remember all these facts about the Piprahwa relics. This is all about it. Now, what is the important or the significance of the Buddhist teaching in the today's contemporary life? So Buddhist teachings are very important in the today's life, where there is violence, war is going on, and there is deceit, corruption, and all those things, even the casteism in India. So all these social evils can be tackled by the Buddhist teaching. Let's see them one by one. First is that the governance and the political integrity. So as we know, the Buddha talks about right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, and honesty. So all these things are important for the governance and political integrity, as these things can lead to the good governance, governance for the people, empathy, sympathy, compassion for the downtrodden, and the equality in the society. So it is very important for that matter. In international relations also, when we will have the tolerance for the others, there will be no wars as we are watching today. So this is very important for the governance and the political integrity. Secondly, social equality and justice. So Buddha propagated various institutions such as Sangha, and Sangha was open to all individuals with respect to caste, even gender, and all the people of regardless of status. So it was helping to eliminate the discrimination, and this is very important even today. So society is discriminated on the basis of religion, gender, caste. All those discrimination was not there in the Buddhist teaching. So it is very important for the egalitarian society and the social harmony between the people. So this is also very important. Then environmental sustainability and conservatism. How it is related to that? So Buddha teaches the middle path. And middle path means it avoids the extreme luxury or extreme austerity. So it is saying that you should lead the good life, not extreme luxury, not extreme poverty, and that is very important. That is the solution for the over exploitation of the resources and the climate change. What Gandhiji says? Gandhiji says the nature have sufficient for your need, not for your greeds. So that is the same method is there in the Buddha's teaching, that environmental sustainability and consumerism can be adopted by the middle path. So this is the next teaching. Another teaching is ethics in technology and science. So as we know that science is the double-edged sword. What is double-edged sword? So it can be used for the betterment of the society, or it can destroy the society. For example, nuclear energy. It can be used to create the energy, and it can also be used to create the nuclear bomb. So it is dependent upon the person who having the technological know-how how to use that technology. Please, in our culture also, Sri Krishna had the Sudarshan Chakra. So Sudarshan Chakra had the tremendous power, but people were not afraid of that because they had faith in the wisdom of the Krishna. So such wisdom should be there when you will have the power of the technology, and ethical use of technology and science can lead to the progress of humankind and the overall development of the society. So this is the second point. Now there is the last point, that is emphasis on the mindfulness and the right understanding foster the scientific temper and the spirit of inquiry. So this is also very important. When there is scientific temper and spirit of inquiry, that leads to the economic development and social economic upliftment of the society. So this is all about the Buddha's teaching and their contemporary relevance. Now we will see related questions about it. So Buddhist philosophy and Jaina philosophy is very important for your UPSC preparation. UPSC have asked the question related to it multiple times. Now we will see couple of questions from that, and I will suggest you guys to go and solve all the questions related to Buddhism. The first question is about Buddhist stupas, and it is from 2023. With reference to ancient India, consider the following statement. First statement is the concept of stupa in Buddhist is the Buddhist in origin. Then second is stupa was generally a repository of relics, and third statement is stupa was a votive and commemorative structure in the Buddhist tradition. So though Buddhism made stupas famous, stupas were not originated in the Buddhism. So please remember this fact. The first statement for that matter is incorrect. Second statement, that stupas was generally a repository of relics, as we already discussed, it is the correct statement. And third statement is also correct, as we have already discussed. So what will be the answer of it? Only two statements are correct. So the answer is B. Then see this question. What teachings of Buddha are most relevant today and why? Discuss. So we already discussed this thing in very detail. You have to write all those things with the example, and that will be sufficient for this answer. Then another question. Early Buddhist stupa art, while depicting the folk motifs and narratives, successfully expounds Buddhist ideals. So these stupas had multiple things such as symbols like chakra, then elephant, then Jataka stories. So these are all the symbols of the Buddhist ideals. So you can write these things, and you can give examples such as Sanchi Stupa to substantiate your points. So this is all about the first news. Now we will discuss the second main news of the day. So let's start the second news of the day, that is US strikes on Venezuela. As US conducted the strikes on the Venezuelan capital city, that is Caracas. And why this news is important for us? So this news is important for your GS paper 2, that is effect of policies and politics of the developed and developing countries on India's interest and international relation. So this is the background. Now these strikes have been categorically condemned by some of the countries such as China and Russia, and these strikes have been supported by some of the countries such as Israel. So India's stand on this is very balanced. So India have not condemned or not supported these strikes. India have only said that the citizen of Venezuela should be taken care of and their security should be given the priority. So this is the India's stand regarding the news. Now these strikes highlight the issues such as violation of international law, as international law categorically does not permit you to attack any other country without the aggression. So this is the one of the concern. Then second concern is violation of national sovereignty. Without any provocation, US have attacked the Venezuela. So it is against the national sovereignty, and then unilateral armed aggression by the US. So these are the some of the issues. Then there is US imperialism among the other. So US have tried to implement its policies all over the world in the name of democracy, and this is the part of neocolonialism. So what is neocolonialism? So this term was coined by the Kwame Nkrumah, who was the president of Ghana. And what is the neocolonialism? In the today's modern time, it is not possible to the countries to directly attack and take the charge and have the government directly. So what they do? They indirectly rule the countries. And how they do? They will have the puppet governments. They will have the multinational companies who will shape the policies of the smaller countries. So in this case also, now Venezuela will be governed by some puppet government, and which will be guided by the USA. So this is kind of neocolonialism. So please remember this fact also. You can code such things in your answer to have the higher mileage than the other students. So this is the one fact. So India will not be affected too much because of the one reason, that our relation with the US have been strained post 2019. That is the one part. Secondly, India don't have the largest stake in Venezuela. So Venezuela have the largest oil reserve in the world, but India do not import oil from the Venezuela largely. Our trade is about $250 million, and this is about 3.3% of our total oil trade. So we will not be affected too much because of these strikes on the Venezuela. So please remember that this thing. Secondly, Venezuela have the largest reserve of the oil. So around 17% of the world oil reserves are in the Venezuela, which accounts nearly about 300 billion barrel. So such a huge amount of oil reserves are there in Venezuela. So this is about the background of the news. Now we will see what was the probable reasons that USA attacked the Venezuela. The first reason is resurrection of the Monroe Doctrine. So what is the Monroe Doctrine? So James Monroe was the president of USA around 1823, and in his congressional speech he propounded this doctrine. And what this doctrine says, it is about the hegemony in the Americas. So it states that America will not tolerate the interference of the European power in the Americas. Means both the Americas, North America and Latin America. As at this time, the Spanish government from the Latin America and other government from the Northern America have been withdrawn, and USA wanted to have the hegemony over these places. And in return, what Monroe propounded that they will not interfere in the European power and their power struggle. So this was about the Monroe Doctrine. Now the Donald Trump's doctrine is called as Monroe because it is also the same, that the resurrection of the Monroe Doctrine and have the hegemony around the Americas. That is the one point. Then second point is controlling the Venezuela's resources. As we already discussed, Venezuela have the world large oil resources, also have the large gas resources and gold reserves also, all in the South America. So such large natural resources are very important for any country, and by attacking it, now USA will have the hold over these resources. Then second, that is countering the China's expansion in Latin America. So all this anger of the Trump on the Venezuela was because of the socialist government of the Venezuela, and the secondly, they had imposed sanction on Venezuela. But what Venezuela was doing, it was importing oil to the China, and it was in non-dollar. So de-dollarization is one of the concern of the America, and because Venezuela was not doing trade in the dollar, so Trump was very angry on him, and that is the one reason. So recently what countries are doing, they are not using dollar as the trade medium of trade, and petrodollar was one of the things which made the dollar an international currency. What is the petrodollar? So it was an unsigned agreement that the whole of the petroleum trade will be done in the dollars, and when this trade is not happening in dollar, so relevance of the dollar in the international market is declining. So that was the one reason that President Trump was categorically angry on the Venezuela, and China was the largest importer of the Venezuelan oil. About 80% of the oil was imported by Venezuela to the China. So China's hegemony was increasing in the region. So these are some of the concerns. Then there are other concerns such as to counter the state-sponsored drug trafficking. So America is accusing Venezuela that the drugs have been smuggled in America from the Venezuela, and Venezuelan government is supporting that drug trafficking. That was the one reason. Then secondly, spread of socialism. As I already discussed, the present president was of the, at least by the name, Venezuelan Socialist Party, and the socialism is not in sync with capitalism of America. So President Trump was angry on that aspect also. Then there is another aspect, that is mass immigration. So America is accusing that the Venezuelan people are illegally migrating to the America because of the economic hardship, and all are these the reason. That is why America strikes on the Venezuela. Now what will be the potential consequences of American strikes? So the first consequence is historical parallel. Now see, please remember, in 2003 America invaded the Iraq in the name of exporting the democracy and deposing the dictator. What happened? Dictator is gone, but now there is anarchy in the Iraq and whole of the Middle East. Then there is cropping of the terrorist organizations such as ISIS. So in the name of democracy, there is no democracy in the region today, there is no stability in the region today, and there is lot of problems such as migration, terrorism and all those things which are there due to American invasion on Iraq in 2003. So this historical parallel may come true in the Latin America also. There is instability in Venezuela now, and that can spread in the whole of the Latin America. So that is the one concern. Secondly, what if every country start imposing their wishes on the other countries? In that scenario, there will be no stability and there will be no law and order, because every country will have some of the concern with the other country. That doesn't mean that every country will start attacking the other country. So this is in that way also not correct. Secondly, it violates the international law and the norms. So Article 2 of the UN Charter says that you cannot attack any sovereign country like that. So apprehension and the forced exile of the Venezuelan president is not correct. That president is electorally elected and it cannot be dethroned like that. Secondly, it is the violation of international law as we already discussed. So what Article 2 says? Article 2 says that it legally mandates that state to refrain from the use of force with some exception. So what are some exceptions? If there is attack on your country, in this case the example is Ukraine. So Ukraine was attacked by the Russia. In that case, you can use the force. But if there is no attack on you, you cannot use the force against the other countries. So in that case, Article 2 has been violated by the USA. And then there is bypassing of the UN Security Council. When there should be some military action against any country because of the human violation or other things, then such resolution should be passed by the UNSC. But that resolution is not passed, and experts are saying that America is positioning itself as a judge and the executioner. So it is itself is accusing Venezuela and giving the punishment. So it is also wrong. Last thing is the warning to the international community. As post-Cold War, there was hope of the stable liberal order, but that hope is diminishing because of the rising instability in the world. So Armenia, Azerbaijan war was there going on. Now also in Ukraine, Russia have attacked. Now USA is also destabilizing the region. So because of all this development, there is lack of hope of the stability in the world. So first PYQ is of the 2019, and what is it? The long sustained image of India as the leader of oppressed and marginalized nation has disappeared on the account of its newfound role in the emerging global order. Elaborate. So we have to discuss how we were the leader of oppressed and the marginalized. You can discuss about the NAM movement, right? And now there is multipolar world. So we are collaborating with the developed and developing countries, such as we are part of FIPIC, so Federation of Small Island Countries. Then we are part of G20. Then we are also part of various initiatives such as BRICS. So you can say that we are now newfound role in the emerging global order, and that is the leader of South and the also emerging economy which is bridging the South and North. So these are the things you can write in this answer. Then there is PYQ of 2025. That is, with the waning of globalization, post-Cold War world is becoming a site of sovereign nationalism elucidate. In this context, you can say many events such as tariff war, Brexit by the UK, and US policies such as withdrawing international organization. So these are the things which indicates that sovereign nationalism is on rise, and there are right wing nationalist parties are coming in power, and those are against the globalization and opposing the migration and the free trade. So these can the thing you can write in your answer. So this is all about the second news. Now we will see third main news of the day. Let's start the third main news of the day, and that is related to global minimum tax, which have been finalized by the OECD agreement. And this development is important for GS paper 2, that is global agreements involving India and affecting India's interest, and GS paper 2 important aspect of governance, transparency and accountability. So what is the background? The background is that OECD G20 inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting have agreed on side-by-side arrangement package for the coordinated operation for the global minimum tax arrangement. So in this article we will see what is the global minimum tax, what is base erosion and profit shifting, and what are the various aspects of the arrangement. So let's start the discussion. So what is global minimum tax? Before we start discussing global minimum tax, let's see some of the basic information which is important to understand this concept. First is MNCs, multinational corporation or companies. So what are MNCs? MNCs are the companies who have the operation in more than one countries, and those countries operate in various countries by the means of subsidiary or by having the partnership with another countries. So these are the MNCs. What are the example? So Apple, Samsung, Mercedes, all these are the MNCs. In India's case, Tata will be MNC as it is operating outside India also. So all these companies are the MNCs. Hyundai. And what is base erosion and profit shifting? So please understand this concept. So there is one company A which having its headquarter or the parent company in the USA. For example, take the example of Apple. So in America there is headquarter, but to save the tax, what they do, they shift their headquarter from America to the Ireland. So it becomes the Irish company now, and they have the function in the India. So in India they are earning some profit, but they do not want to pay taxes in India, because in India taxes are high, for example say 25%, and in Ireland that taxation may be say 10%. So what they will do, they will have the profit of 15% if they pay taxes in the Ireland. So what they do, they transfer their profits to the Ireland and pay taxes there, and in that process India doesn't get any taxation from the business Apple did in the India. That is the base erosion and the profit shifting. And how it is done? So basically what they do, they will show some purchase of the software or something from the Irish subsidiary or the Irish parent company, and they will say that all the profits were transfer to the Irish company to purchase of that software. So that is the transfer payment. Then they will say that there is some payment patent which is registered by the Irish company, and because we are using that patent, we have to transfer that royalty to the Irish company. Then they also may have the some loans taken from this company and will pay the higher rate of interest to those companies, and by this way they will avoid the taxation in India. So this is the base erosion and profit shifting. So this is the practice generally companies adopt to save the taxes, and this way they transfer their profit. So this is it. Now what is the global minimum tax? So OECD framework says that these companies should pay at least global minimum tax, and that should be around 15%. So it is based on the global anti-base erosion model rules, and it aims to ensure large multinational enterprises pay minimum level of tax on their income in the each jurisdiction. If they are doing business in India, at least they should pay 15% tax in the Indian jurisdiction where they operate, thereby reducing the incentive for profit shifting. And if they are paying that tax in India only, then there will be no incentive to transfer money to the Ireland by applying all such false and various methods. So they will not do it. They simply will pay the taxes in the originating country where they are doing the business. So this is the global minimum tax. As we have already discussed what is base erosion and profit shifting, that is all about the global minimum tax. Now we will see various aspect of the global minimum tax package, and that package consists of the 5 key components. First key component is simplification measures. So it says that there should be simplification of the measures to reduce the compliance burdens for the MNCs and the tax authorities. When there will be simplification of the rules, then companies can also pay taxes easily and readily at the originating jurisdiction. That is the first point. Second point is tax incentive alignment. So it introduces the targeted substance-based tax incentive safe harbor to align the global treatment of tax incentives. So it is introducing the substance-based tax incentive to align the. So what is it doing? So if some jurisdiction will be having the less tax, so companies will try to have the profit shifting to that place and will avoid the higher taxes. But if there will be a level playing field in all those things, so there will be no incentive to do that. So it is saying that tax incentive alignment should be there in the various countries. So this is the second point. Then safe harbor for the qualifying MNCs. So what does it mean? So many times what happens, the subsidiary have to transfer the money to the parent company. In that case, there are safe harbor rules. And what are these safe harbor rules? So company have to declare the profit. For example, in case of IT in India, if that safe harbor rule is 18%, which means if company is showing profit of 18% or higher, then tax authorities will not question the transfer of money which is of 118 rupees, because they have shown the 18% tax and they are paying 18% profit tax in India. So authorities will not ask or question the transfer, but if they are showing the less profit than 18%, then authorities can ask the question. So what it is saying, that there should be safe harbor for the qualifying MNCs and there should be uniformity in such rules meeting minimum taxation requirements, and this taxation can be of the 15% as we are discussing. Then there should be level playing field. So it says that includes evidence-based stocktake process to ensure the fair treatment for the all-inclusive framework members. So it is saying that there should be study of all the jurisdiction, and there should be evidence-based stocktake process, and there should be uniformity in the process, right? Then last point is that domestic minimum tax protection. So what is it is saying? It reinforces qualified domestic minimum top-up tax regimes as the primary mechanism for the protecting local tax bases, particularly a developing countries. Please understand this concept. Now, if Apple is transferring the tax to the Ireland, and Ireland is taxing about 10% of the profit, then that is below the 15% mandate, then originating country can impose 5% tax, as it is not 15%. So 5% can be applied by the India, and by that way minimum tax of global minimum tax of 15% can be taken from that company. And if that happens, then why Apple will transfer money to the Ireland? They will simply pay 15% to India only. So this is the basic principle to avoid all that profit shifting and paying the profit and the taxes to the originating jurisdiction only. So this is all about the various key components of the global minimum tax package. Now we will see what is OECD G20 inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting. As we already discussed it, it has been launched in 2016, and it is, as the name suggests, by the OECD and G20. And what is the objective? To avoid the base erosion and profit shifting. What is the membership? So it consists of 147 member countries, and India is part of these. So please remember, this is the important information, that India is the part of this framework. There are two key pillars of this, and the pillar 1 says that reallocation taxing rights to the market jurisdiction where the profits are generated. Means if the company is doing business in particular country, then company should pay the taxes in that particular country only. And second thing is that introduces global minimum corporate tax, which is 15%, as we already discussed, to curb tax competition. So this is about it. Now let's see these two organizations. First is OECD. So OECD was formed in 1961, and it is 38 country organization. India is not part of it. It generally a organization of developed countries. And then there is G20. So question have been asked about the G20 membership. Let's see what are the G20 members. It is very easy to remember. 3 from the North America, Mexico, USA and Canada. 2 from the Latin America, Argentina and Brazil, right? Then Australia. Then there is Indonesia, right? Then there is China, Korea, Japan and Russia. Then India. Then there is Turkey. Then there is Saudi Arabia. Then there is Brazil, and then African Union is also there now. So these are the countries. So go step by step, you can remember this. Then there is European countries, that is UK, France, Germany, then Italy, then European Union. So these are all are the countries which are the part of the G20. Please remember this. Go step by step and you can remember this. So this is all about the third news. Now we will see the questions related to it. The first question is very easy, which is from the 2016, and it is asking what is base erosion and profit shifting is. And first is mining operation. So it is not about the mining operation. Second is about the curbing of the tax evasion by the multinational companies. So this is the correct answer. So the answer is B. Then see the another question. In which of the following groups all the 4 countries are the member of G20? So this is the question, and we have just discussed which are those countries. The first is Argentina, Mexico, South Africa and Turkey. So all these countries are part of G20. Let's see. Australia, Canada, Malaysia is not part, neither New Zealand is part. Then Brazil, Iran is not part, then Vietnam is not part, then here Singapore is not part. So answer is A. So this is all about the third main news. Now we will discuss the 4 main news of the day. Let's see the next main news, that is BRICS, as India have assumed the chairmanship of the BRICS and will be hosting the 18th BRICS Summit in India in 2026. So this is the development, and it is important for GS paper 2, that is regional and global groupings involving India and affecting India's interests. So let's start the discussion. So what is the development? So Brazil have formally handed over the BRICS presidency to India for the year 2026, and India will be the chairman of 18th BRICS Summit in 2026, which will be held in India, and it will be having the 4 pillars. Now Prime Minister have highlighted that it will be on the principle of BRICS. So what is that? That is building resilient, then innovation, then cooperation, and then sustainability. So you can write it in your introduction also, such keywords and mnemonics which have been officially given by the Prime Minister or the other leaders. So this is all about the development. Now we will see what is the significance of the BRICS presidency for India. So first is that reform for the global governance. So India's call to reform and not to replace the international institutions to avoid the Western dominance. So one of the concern by the USA was that de-dollarization is promoted by the BRICS. So in that context, India is clarifying that they do not want to replace the international institutions, but they want to have the reforms in it, such as UNSC, then WTO. All these global institutions will be having the reforms, and which will be serving the contemporary purposes of the time. That is the first thing. Then global South leadership and support for the multipolar world order. As we are seeing from unipolar world order, where USA was dominating the world after the collapse of USSR, now we are heading for the multipolar world order, where there are many stakeholders in the world and there are multiple powers. So there is no one power, and in this scenario India will bridge between the global South and the West, as we are part of various initiatives such as PPIC, as we already discussed, and then we are also sharing the stage with the developed countries with various organizations such as G20, as we already discussed in the previous. So we will be the bridge between the global South and the West. Then there is next point, that is promotion of digital public infrastructure for the scalable development model. So India is very advanced in digital public infrastructure, as we can see in the digital payments such as BHIM, UPI, then Aadhaar and other such services. So it can be a scalable development model in other countries also. Then there is strategic autonomy and the multi-alignment. So see, in BRICS there is China, then India is also close to the Western led groupings. So we have to balance the differences between China and Western alliances, and that will be the forum such as BRICS, which will complement it. We should understand the concept of minimaxing in the IR. And what is minimaxing? So minimizing the differences and maximizing the benefits. So India should promote its interest and reduce the differences. So BRICS will be that forum which will help it. So this is the significance of India's BRICS presidency. Let's discuss about the BRICS. So what is the genesis of the BRICS? So the term was coined by the British economist Jim O'Neill in 2001, and he used this term for the emerging economies such as Brazil, Russia, India and China. And the BRICS started functioning as the formal grouping at the margin of G8 Summit in the 2006, and the first BRICS Summit was held in Russia in 2009. Brazil, India, China was the part, but South Africa was joined later in 2010 and it became the BRICS. So 1 year later, South Africa joined the BRICS. Then what is the aim of this organization? To reform the global governance, as we already discussed, and provide alternative to the Western dominated institutions such as IMF, World Bank, UNSC. And what is about its chairmanship? So its chairmanship is not fixed, it keeps rotating. And how it rotates? Generally 1 or 2 times there are exceptions, but as the mnemonic suggests, it generally goes from Brazil to Russia, then India to China, then South Africa. So generally it rotates this way. 1 or 2 times there is exception, so please remember this. Then what is the structure of the BRICS? So there are 3 pillars of cooperation. The first is political and security, then second is economic and financial, and third is cultural and people to people cooperation. So this is the 3 pillars, and it is very important. Please remember these facts. You can quote these facts in your answer, or you can give these facts in your introduction also. So it approximately hosts almost 49.5% of the world population, around 40% of the global GDP, and 26% of the total global trade. So this is the importance of the BRICS grouping because of the economic and social relevance of the BRICS. Then about the membership, as we already discussed, there were 5 members, but BRICS have been expanded in the last few years, and now there is other members also, such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia and UAE, United Arab Emirates. Please remember one fact, and that is Saudi Arabia, though is considered member, have not attended any BRICS summit or the BRICS related meeting till now. So it is part, but it have not officially attended any of the meetings. So this is all about the BRICS. Now we will see related questions. The first question is from the 2016, and please see the statement. The statement is New Development Bank has been set up by the APEC. And second statement is the headquarters of the New Development Bank is in Shanghai. So let's discuss the New Development Bank. So BRICS have some of the initiatives. The first is New Development Bank, and second is Contingency Reserve Arrangement. So what is New Development Bank? So in 2014 there is Fortaleza Agreement in Brazil, and by the agreement BRICS established NDB and CRA. Now the NDB is the bank which is been established by the BRICS. So first statement is not correct and answer is only B. And NDB is headquartered in Shanghai. So second statement is correct. What is CRA? So it is a contingency reserve arrangement, and when there is a balance of payment crisis, so this is the 100 billion fund, and this money will be given to the country to tackle the balance of payment crisis. So this is the contingency reserve arrangement, and those two arrangement came in force from the Portfolio agreement, which in 2014 was signed in the Brazil. So please remember the facts. Then there is second question. Consider the following statement regarding the BRICS. 16th BRICS Summit was held under the chairmanship of Russia in the Kazan. So this statement is correct. And 17th BRICS Summit was held in Brazil. Then second statement is Indonesia has become the full member of the BRICS. And then there is statement that the theme of the 16th BRICS Summit was strengthening the multiculturalism for the just global development and the security. So not multiculturalism but multilateralism. So third statement is wrong. So what is the answer? Answer is 1 and 2A. So this is all about the fourth main news. Now we will see the fifth main news of the day. Now we will see the last main news of the day, and that is India's data center capacity have been doubled in 2025. And this development is important for your GS paper 3, that is awareness in the field of IT, space and computers. So let's start the discussion. What is the background? So India's data center capacity have been increased, and 387 megawatt has been added to its capacity in 2025 from the 192 megawatt in 2024. So it is showing the growth of almost 100% according to the report. And what are the data centers? So data centers are the dedicated secure spaces where computing and networking equipments are concentrated, and what they do, their purpose is collecting the data, storing the data, processing the data, distributing and the allowing access to the large amount of data. Basically these are the data servers which are there and which are storing the data, analyzing the data, processing the data. So those organization or institution where these servers are located are called as data centers. Now we will see why there is tremendous growth in the data centers capacity in India. So first is regulatory mandates. As RBI recently mandated that India's financial data should be stored in the India only. So that is the one. Then there are digital personal data security rules, and what are they are saying? So section 18 is mandating that some of the important data should be stored in India only. So that is, these are the regulatory mandates. Then there is rapid digitalization. As India already have more than 750 million internet users in 2024, and if there are such large number of users, then they are generating large data. So this is the second point, that large amount of data has been created in India and consumed in India. So that is the second point. Then cost advantages. So what is the cost advantages? So land, then labor, electricity, all are very cheap in India as compared to other countries where data centers are established. So because of these cost advantages, India have seen the growth in the data centers in 2025. So this is about the data center growth. Now what are the significant? So see, there is no rocket science about it. These are very normal points, but you should give some examples to substantiate your point and to get good marks than the others. The first point is key enabler to the digital revolution in India, such as Aadhaar, UPI, then ONDC. All the digital and internet services need the large data processing and storing. So first thing is that the key enabler. Then also that work from home and the other innovation startup require the data. So first thing is that. Then integration of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. Please remember, though America attacked Venezuela for the oil, but it is said that the data will be new oil in 21st century. So please remember this, data will be the new oil. So all the struggle will be there for the ownership of the data. And why it is important? For developing good AI model, data is required. To develop other important things such as Internet of Things, data is required. So data is required for the lot of things. When you just search clothes in your Google, all clothes related ad will start emerging your Instagram and other social networking sites and even your browser. So why it is happening? Because your data has been used by the multinational companies and they are then giving you those choices. So data is the new oil, please remember this, and that is why integrating emerging technologies, data will be very important. Then there are other important significance such as facilitating the data localization. So when data will be localized, there will be lack of risk that foreign surveillance will be there on your data. Secondly, that national security will be enhanced. Please understand that if there will be data related to various shady activities such as financial transaction and all that, so government agencies can track the money laundering and such activities and terrorist financing, all those things. So data localization is very important. Secondly, protecting the privacy rights, attracting the foreign direct investment is also there, because data will be stored here, so there will be ensuring the privacy rights, and foreign direct investment will be there because data center capacity is enhancing and that is the emerging sector. Then it will also create the jobs. So this is the significance of the data centers and capacity building, right? Now we will see what are the challenges in front of India in the data center capacity. So the first is regulatory mechanism. There is no single regulatory mechanism in India to organize or to have the simplified and standardized framework for the data centers. So that is the one point. And when there is no standard framework, so foreign direct investors are hesitant to invest in India because there is no uniform policy regarding the that. Then second thing is high operational expenses, as it requires high power consumption, infrastructure maintenance is very high, and because of the high maintenance and the high operational expenses, there is constraint on the capacity building. Then there are environmental concerns. Why environmental concern? Because it requires large amount of energy. Their capacity is measured in the energy consumption only, so you can understand how much energy it is consuming. Secondly, that energy is produced by the coal based sources, so it is actually polluting. And then groundwater, because groundwater is used as the coolant and because it requires large amount of water also, so it is a environmental concern. Then other things also such as skill gaps, then the concentration in metro cities like Mumbai and Chennai. Around 70% of the data centers are concentrated in the mega cities. So what is the way forward? So way forward is to have the comprehensive policy. Then we should promote the energy efficient R&D. Then we should promote the data centers in the tier 2 cities, and then we should ensure the sustainable, secure and balanced growth of the data center ecosystem in India. So this is about the data center. Now we will see what are the initiatives taken by the government to promote the data center ecosystem in India. First is that draft data center policy 2022, but it is in the draft phase, it is not finalized, and it will promote the data center ecosystem by giving them incentive to having the mechanism to promote the related infrastructure and hardware. So that is the one point. Then infrastructure status have been given to the data centers which capacity is more than 5 megawatt of the IT load. If the capacity of the data center is more than 5 megawatt IT load, then that data center is considered as infrastructure. And if the sector is given the infrastructure status, the benefit is that they will get the long-term loans. So it will help them to boost the sector. So it is also important. Then there is India's first hyperscale data center, that is called as Yotta D1 at Greater Noida. Please remember, it is in Greater Noida. And then there is also recommendations by the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. And what it have recommended? First, it have recommended data center incentivization scheme, and secondly, it have recommended data center economic zones on the line of industrial zones. So these are the various mechanisms and the initiative taken by the government of India to promote the data center ecosystem. So this is all about the data centers. Now we will see the questions related to it. The questions are not directly related to data centers, but question can be asked on these lines. First question is, what is the status of digitization in Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest the improvement. As we discuss the problems, if the question is asked, you can write those problems and you can write the status such as 750 million internet users, and all that data can be used in this answer, right? Then second question is, describe the context and the salient features of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. So the Digital Personal Data Protection Act and rules related to it have been notified recently by the government of India. It is in news and it is very significant development. And we are also discussing data centers. So basically data and related aspects are in news. So please do it very carefully, prepare it. UPSC may ask the question related to rules about the Data Protection Act of 2023. So please prepare them. So this is all about the main news. Now we will see the personality in news. Let's discuss the personality in news today. And today's personality is Savitribai Phule. So what is the development? So on her birth anniversary, Prime Minister remember the Savitribai Phule. Let's discuss the key fact about the Savitribai. So she was born in Satara district in Naigaon. So Naigaon is the place where Savitribai was born, and she was the first headmistress of the country's first school for the girls in Pune. So in this regard, I would like to share a story about the Savitribai. So when she used to teach the girls, what people used to do? When she was going to teach the girls, so people used to throw cow dung and even mud on her. So she used to carry 2 saris, and when she used to reach the school, she used to change the sari and then start teaching the girls. So that was the struggle by then to teach the girls. So please remember the sacrifices made by these great philosophers and thinkers for the today's upliftment in the society. That is the short story. Now we will see the contribution. For the women's right, she started Mahila Seva Mandal for the women rights. Then she started Bal Hatya Pratibandhak Griha for the refuse women. So what was the purpose of the Bal Hatya Pratibandhak Griha? Back then, sometimes widows were got exploited by some people and they used to get pregnant, and in that condition, what that widow will do? So society will harass them, and such widows will be given the protection by the Bal Hatya Pratibandhak Griha. Please remember this. She also started the trust called Native Female Society and Native Female School in Pune. Then she promoted Satyashodhak marriages. In Satyashodhak marriages, the priests were not involved, and reform measures were taken, such as books were distributed between the parties, and even the saplings were planted. So those were the initiative taken under the Satyashodhak marriages. Then for the social inclusion, they promoted education among the communities such as Mahar, monks and the lower caste communities. And she also published some of the books. And what were those books? First book is Kavya Phule and second book is Bavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar. So those were the books of the poetry she published. So this is all about the Savitribai Phule. Let's start the quick updates of the day. And first quick update is UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council. And what is the development? 5 countries have been elected to the UNSC non-permanent members. And which are those 5 countries? Those countries are Bahrain, Colombia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Latvia and Liberia. So these 5 countries have been elected to the non-permanent membership of the UNSC. Now we will see about the UNSC. So what is the genesis? So it was established in 1945 through the UN Charter as one of the 6 principal units of the United Nations. And what are 5 other principal organs? So first is UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, then Secretariat of the UN, then ICJ, International Court of Justice, then Trusteeship Commission, then United Nations Economic and Social Council. So these are the 5 other important bodies, principal organs of the UN apart from the UNSC. And what is the purpose of the UNSC? The purpose is to maintaining the international peace and security. So there are 5 permanent members, and those permanent members are China, France, Russia, USA and UK. And there are 10 non-permanent members which are selected by the UN General Assembly. So this is about it. About India, India have been member of UNSC 8 times, and last time it was in 2022-23. So this is one fact about it. Then India is promoting UNSC reform under the G4. So what are those G4 countries? So Japan, India, Brazil and then Germany. So these countries are there in G4. So this is all about the UNSC. The second quick update of the day is OPEC Plus. And what is the development? So OPEC Plus has agreed in principle to maintain the steady oil output despite the rising geopolitical tensions. And what is OPEC? OPEC is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, and it is a permanent intergovernmental organization of 12 oil exporting developing nations. And please remember, India is not the part of the OPEC or OPEC Plus even in that matter. And what is the genesis of it? It was formed by the Baghdad Conference in 1960, and Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela are the founding members. And what are the other members? Algeria, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Libya, Nigeria and the UAE. Please remember, as OPEC is in news because Venezuela is attacked by the USA, the question can be asked. Then what is the objective? The objective is to stabilize the petroleum market. So that was the objective, and the headquarter in the Vienna, Austria. And what is the OPEC plus? So the reason OPEC plus came into force as USA started producing the US shale gas output, and because of the high amount of US shale gas, US shale oil in the market, the prices started fluctuating, and to stabilize those prices, OPEC plus came into force. It is the OPEC plus 10 non-OPEC countries who are also producing the oil on large scale, and in those there is Russia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan and other countries. So one fact we have to remember that in OPEC plus USA is not there. So that is the important fact, that they can include the USA in your option to confuse you. So please remember this thing. So this is the second quick update of the day. Now we will see third quick update. So let's discuss the third quick update, and that is white bellied heron, and it is a bird, and it is found in India and particularly in Northeast India. And what is the development? So Environment Ministry have given the clearance for the Kalai 2 hydroelectric project on the Lohit river, and Lohit is the tributary of Brahmaputra. So please remember this fact. And it is also a place where white bellied heron is found. It is critically endangered bird. Now see the details of the white bellied heron. So it is also known as imperial heron or the great white bellied heron. And what are its features? The first feature is it is the second largest living heron species with the distinct white belly. So this is the one fact. Then it is not migratory, so it does not migrate, it lives in its habitat, and it shows local and post breeding dispersal. So it get dispersed after the breeding, but it is not migratory bird like the other bird which migrate for the millions and thousands kilometers. So that is not the case for this. Then what is the habitat? So it is found in undisturbed rivers and wetlands in the foothills of the eastern Himalayas. And what is the distribution? I already told you, in Indian subcontinent, in the Southeast Asia such as India, in India, Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, then Bhutan, Bangladesh and other countries. And what is its status? So it is critically endangered, and it is placed in the Schedule 1 under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So this is all about the third quick update. Now we will see the fourth quick update. So next quick update is about the Somnath temple, and what is the development? So Prime Minister paid the tribute to the Somnath temple, marking the 1000 years since the first attack on the Somnath temple, which happened in 1026 AD. And where is the location of the Somnath temple? So it is in Prabhas Patan in the Saurashtra region of the Gujarat. And what is the religious significance? So it is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas of the Lord Shiva. And what is the history? So it was reconstructed many times and was attacked many times. It was first attacked by the Muhammad Ghazni in the 11th century, and it is written by the Al-Biruni. So Al-Biruni have written very famous book, Kitab al-Hind. Please remember the book's name, it can be asked in the UPSC. So this is about the history. Now the reconstruction was carried out by then Deputy Prime Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and it was ordered in 1947. It was completed in 1951, and then President Rajendra Prasad performed the ceremony where the Shivlinga was installed in the temple. So this is all about the Somnath temple. Now we will see the next quick update. So next quick update is about Payment Regulatory Board. And what is the development? So RBI Governor chaired the first meeting of the Payment Regulatory Board. Now we will see what is the Payment Regulatory Board. So it is established in 2025 by the RBI under the Payments and Settlement System Act 2007. And what is the mandate? So regulation and supervision of the all payment systems such as electronic, non-electronic, domestic and cross-border payments. So please remember this, all type of payments are covered and supervised by the Payment Regulatory Board. Now this board replaces the board for the regulation and the supervision of payments and settlement system, BPSS. So it replaces the BPSS. And what is the composition of this board? So this board will be constituting the members of RBI and the government, and it will be chaired by the governor of RBI, and two RBI representative will be there along with the governor, and central government will send the 3 nominees. So this is all about the Payment Regulatory Board. Now we will see the next quick update. So next quick update of the day is about the Kushanas. And what is the development? So archaeologists have discovered rare Kushana era coins and decorative stones including lapis lazuli. It is the blue colored stones, very famous in the ancient India, and it is discovered from the UNESCO listed site near the Takshila, Pakistan. And what is about the Kushanas? So Kushanas ruled from the 1st century BC till 3rd century, and the origin was by the Kujula Kadphises or the Kadphises I. So he was the emperor builder and he established the Kushana rule, and it was not by the Kanishka. So Kanishka was the most famous ruler, but he was not the originator of the Kushana empire. About the Kanishka, we can say that he promoted the Buddhism and convened 4th Buddhist Council. So there were 4 Buddhist Council. First was by the Ajatashatru, and it was in the Rajgriha. Second by the Kalashoka, and it was in Vaishali. Then third was by the Ashoka in Patliputra, and fourth was by the Kanishka, and it was held in the Kashmir. So this was about the Kanishka. Now we will see the administration. So this was the decentralized administration, and empire was divided into satrapies, and it was headed or governed by the satrapas. So this is about the administration. Now we will see the extension of the empire. So from the northwest India, it was till the Ganga Yamuna Doab, including the eastern Uttar Pradesh and even the Bihar. So it was about the Kushana empire and their extent. Now please remember that fact, the Kushanas also issued the extensive gold coins, but they didn't issue the largest gold coins in the Indian history. Who issued the largest gold coin in Indian history? Those were the Guptas. So please remember this fact. So this is all about the Kushanas. Now we will see the next quick update. So next quick update is about rangelands and the pastoralist. And what is the development? So United Nations have declared 2026 as the International Year of Rangeland and the Pastoralist. And what is the rangelands? So rangelands cover about half of the Earth's land, and it includes grassland, savannas, shrublands, desert, then wetlands and even mountain areas. What are the key examples? Please remember these examples. The question can be asked about these grasslands. So steppes in the Central Asia, African savanna, then Alps and the Pyrenees in the Europe, and Andes in the South America, and then Great Plains of the United States. Also, these are the important ecotones sometimes. So what are the ecotones? So ecotones are the zone of tension between two biomes, and here we see the maximum biodiversity. So these are the important areas of the ecotones also. Please remember this fact. What is the significance? So it preserves the unique fauna and flora as because they are the part of ecotones also, and provide essential services including carbon storage and water regulation. So this is the significance of it. And what is about the pastoralist? So these are the herder communities, and they raise animal, contribute to the food economy, and also hold the diverse cultural heritage and the knowledge regarding the local area, because they keep roaming around and they will also have the important indigenous knowledge. So this is all about this quick update. Now we will see the next quick update. So this is the last quick update of the day, and that is about the National Sport Board. And what is the development? So Union government notified National Sport Board Search cum Selection Committee Rules 2026 under the National Sport Governance Act 2025. And we will see the key highlights of the rule, as the Search and Selection Committee will be comprising of the Cabinet Secretary, who will be the chairman of that committee, and it will also comprise the Secretary of the Sport, then one person with the experience in the sports administration, and the 2 recipients of the National Sports Awards such as Arjuna Award and then other such awards. So such National Sports Awards winners will be there. What is about the National Sports Board? So National Sport Board is actually comes from the Sport Governance Act of 2025, and the purpose of this board is about the, it will act as the central authority, and what it will do, it will grant recognition to the national sport bodies and ensure the compliance, and it will comprise of the chairman and the 2 other members. What is the term? So it will be having the term of 3 years or the 65 years of the age, which is the earlier. So even the chairman and even the both the members will have the same term condition. So this is all about the today's developments. If you want to practice more, you can visit our digital current affair portal, where you can solve quizzes, revise, and even read the current affairs related material. This is all about today's development. Thank you. Happy learning.